A very good evening to you all. Welcome to Premier Educa Institute. Under member supportive programs, today you are going to learn sampling methods for quantitative and qualitative research strategies. In addition to that, you will be learning how to select appropriate statistical and textual techniques for your research. These are going to be very easy for you if you learn systematically and scientifically from the beginning. For today's 3-hour session, we have with us Dr. Engineer Priyantha Morfitier. Today's session will be conducted as 2 sessions. Please note that you will have 15-minute breaks after the first session at 7:30. We hope that today's 3 hours will be productive for you. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Prashal. That's your coordinator. Okay, once again, you all are welcome to this very important program. So as Prashal very clearly said, this is a very easy if you learn systematically and scientifically from the very beginning. Okay, so here we have some professionals from different countries. So I am not going to say good evening for you all. And a good day for you once again. Okay, so let's start straight away because we have very important 60 slides to be covered today. Okay, 60. So I'm trying my level best to cover 30 slides before the interval, the rest after the interval, right? That's the working plan today, right? Okay, I will just switch off this video for the time being. Okay, right. So the introduction to the research paradigms of the quantitative and the qualitative strategies, because before I start sampling methods, I just want to tell you briefly about these two major research paradigms, quantitative and the qualitative. And then I will be starting about the sampling methods for today's session. Okay, so remember that point very clearly. Okay, so the research strategies. So if you check in the Google, can someone confirm me, please, whether you can view and you can hear me? Am I audible to you? Someone text me, please. And I hope that you can see the shared slides, please. Someone text and confirm. Thank you very much. Okay, right. Okay, right. Okay, so if you check in the Google, you might get a different interpretations. Right, so if you check in the books, textbooks, again you might get the different interpretation. So you don't have to worry about that. So basically, the research under the research paradigm, you have qualitative, quantitative, and mixed methods. The qualitative means, right, non-quantitative type. Non-quantitative means no numbers are involved. That does not mean that you don't have any numbers. You have numbers, but basically the research is analyzed textually. This is a new word for you, I think. Textual analysis means analysis by words, right? So that's how normally you are supposed to learn about the qualitative. Basically, the analysis is done by words. So now when you come to the quantitative research, again, it is with the numbers, facts and the figures importantly, and very importantly, the analysis done by the statistical techniques. Remember, there are so many statistical techniques, right? So we are mostly concerned, we are mostly focusing about the SPS, but there you have a lot of other R Studio, R programming, Python, and what else, and then you have starter, SAS, lot of techniques, but we are basically concerned about the SPS because the SPS is a very easy user interface, as well as majority is doing by using the SPS, right? Okay, so the qualitative means merely analysis by the textually. The quantitative means generally analysis is done by the statistical analysis, software basis. Okay, so the qualitative is also, you have the softwares like NVO, you have, but basically the words. Okay, right. So when you come to the next slide, now how do you select whether your research is the quantitative or qualitative. You can't say that the qualitative is superlative than quantitative, or you can't say that qualitative is much better than quantitative. You can't say. That depends on your research question. So remember that point very clearly, right? So whether you have to go for the qualitative or the quantitative depends on your research question. So that is the first point I have to tell you, right? So use quantitative research if you want to confirm or to test something. I mean that if you want to test theory testing. For example, if you want to validate the theories, in other words, you want to test some hypothesis. Hypothesis means some relationship between the two factors, your height and your weight. Is there any relationship between the height and the weight? Yes. Why? You know that there is a equation called, there is a formula called BMI index, right? So there is a relationship between the height and the weight. So like that, if you want to test any relationship between two or more factors, then you have to go for the quantitative. That is, you have to test the theories, existing theories. Qualitative means no, you don't have such kind of relationships in general. So you have to develop theory from the very beginning, from the very bottom. So that is what is called bottom up method. Basically, you are answering the questions like how, what, how, why, like that, not the relationship. So remember, in general, right, the quantitative means you are supposed to test the existing theories. Deductive method, which will be explained later. Qualitative means you are supposed to develop new theories. New theories used based on someone else's patterns, concepts, thoughts, or experiences like that. You are going to develop new theories, new phenomena. Okay, right. I hope now you understand in general what is the quantitative and the qualitative, which will be explained in the due course. Okay, right. So when to use the quantitative, this is a very important. When to use, right? Okay, now I will tell you, right? So you don't have to worry about that. Right. When to use the quantitative? Again, I will just recap, right? Quantitative versus qualitative. Quantitative means basically you want to test the theories, existing theories, the relationship between the two factors. You are testing statistically. Qualitative means no, you are going to develop theories from the beginning, from the very bottom. So basically you are supposed to answer the question how, what, why. So phenomena from someone else's patterns, concepts, thoughts, experience. You are analyzing these things and you are developing new theories or new phenomena. So that is what is called theory developing. So that comes under the qualitative research, which will be explained later. And again, quantitative means you're supposed to test the relationship between the two or more factors. For example, height versus weight, smoking versus cancers. The customers, what are the factors affecting the customer satisfaction, right? So the impact on a variable. So these things are coming under the quantitative research. Okay, very much. And I will come again to this area later, little later, right? So for the time being, you're supposed to learn quantitative means basically facts and the figures, and you are analyzing by the statistical software. The qualitative means basically the facts, no figures. That does not mean that you don't have any figures. You have, but the analysis is done by not by the statistical software, but by the other softwares like NVO. So they are called textual analysis, word analysis by word, not the statistical, right? And so when to use the quantitative? Yes, I told you very clearly. If you want to test some relationship between the two factors or two or more factors, you have to go for the quantitative. Clear, right? So there you are testing some theories. So you can see the theory, or you develop some hypothesis and you collect the data, observation empirically. You collect the data, okay, and you collect the data and then you confirm. So this is called deduction or the deductive, or you deduce from the theory. Theory means you formulate some hypothesis relationship. For example, you say that there is a relationship between the weight and height, right? And that is your hypothesis. And then you collect data, weights and heights of the sample, and then you check it, and finally you confirm whether there is any relationship or not. So this is coming under the quantitative type in general. Okay, so the research paradigm is the ontological stance, is the representationalism. So these are, you don't have to worry about that, these are philosophical assumptions, so little bit technical, don't worry about that. So the quantitative means the truth is out there, you have to go and you have to observe it by using your own sensory organs, or by using some scientific methods. For example, questionnaires, Likert scale questionnaire. The reality is objective reality is there, right? So when you come to the qualitative, you might see that the reality is not there, that is subjective. Subjective means you can see as you want, I can see as I want, but here no. The objective means the reality will be same for you and for me as well. So that is the philosophical assumption for the quantitative research. So these are a little bit technical, you don't have to worry about that, but you have to write down this in order. Okay, so if your research is the quantitative, then your epistemological stance is positivism. Positivism means you are going to collect the data as a scientist, scientific method, by using the statistical techniques. Again, I am telling you, you don't have to worry about that. If you're doing a quantitative research, this is the process. You said or not, you know or don't know, this is the process. Okay, so the methodology, yes, again, the deductive, I told you very clearly, you are developing your hypothesis, and then you are collecting the data empirically, and finally by analysis, statistically, you confirm. So this is the method for the quantitative method. Okay, so remember, first one and second one, these are technical things, you don't have to worry about that, but this is how you have to write in your report. Okay, ontological stance means, in simple words, how the realities exist in the world and what constitutes in it. How the reality exists in the world and what constitutes in it. So that is what is called ontological. Epistemological stance is how you are going to observe so-called reality. How? What are the ways? How you are going? As whom? Okay, so you are going as a engineer, you are going as a statistician, you are going and observing scientifically, then analyzing. So that is called positivism. These are little bit technical, right? So don't worry about that. The methodology, deductive means from bottom to down, top down. You develop your theory, and then you make your hypothesis, and then you collect the data, finally you confirm by the statistical method. Okay, so for example, so you can say, so now you can say that the bachelors are unmarried. Bachelors, you say that bachelors are unmarried. So that is your theory. You develop some theory, bachelors are unmarried. Now you have to collect the data, but there are some people. Bill is a one person, he's a bachelor. So then, sorry, he's unmarried. Now that is your observation. Bill is unmarried. Now you can say that then Bill is a bachelor. Why? Your theory is bachelors are unmarried. That is your theory. Now you have to collect the data, and you have the data with you. That is Bill. He's unmarried. Then you can say that Bill is a bachelor. So you don't have to worry about that. This is just the interpretation, right? And time horizon is a very, very important fact. That means how are you going to collect the data at one point, snapshot, or over a period of time. So basically, when you are doing the quantitative research, your time horizon is one shot. So that is called cross-sectional one. So now when you come to the some very common quantitative research type, very common, right? I am not telling that these are the only in general, you have this kind of techniques. For example, so you want to number one, so you want to test the pH value of one sample, pH value of sample against the standard pH value, which is 7. So now you want to test whether the pH value of your sample is significantly different from that. So that is called one sample t-test. Now, my dear professionals, please check whether your research is coming under which method. One sample t-test means you are having only one sample. You want to check with the standard value. Okay, that is called one sample t-test. So the second one, you are having the independent sample. Independent sample t-test, which is called student t-test, or which is called two sample t-test, means you have one group which is an experimental group, another group is a control group. So you have to compare the experiment group and the control group, that is coming under the independent sample t-test. These are very easy, but you should learn, right? For example, salary among the marketing and the HR department. So the salary, so you have, this is a very good research. Okay, so this is coming under the independent sample t-test. Now the third one, for example, you have more than 3 groups, right? The same, but here under the 2 you have only 2 groups, marketing and HR. In that case, if that is your research, then you have to go for the independent sample t-test. So if you have more than 3 groups, for example, managerial level, low, medium, high, there are 3 groups, and then you have to go for the one-way ANOVA, right? And the number 4, so very important, especially in the medical science, repeated or the paired sample. Repeated or the paired sample means you have a sample which will be tested before and after. For example, your knowledge before my workshop and after my workshop. Here, remember, the same sample is tested twice. That is what it is called repeated or paired sample t-test. This is a very important. I will later tell you again if I get the time. Okay. So the next one, number 5, the relationship between the 2 factors. For example, smoking causes cancers. Smoking causes cancers. Experience causes salary. So these are the 2 relationships. For that, you have to use the correlation analysis. So very, very easy, right? So the next one, number 6, chi-square test. Chi-square test means both sides are categorical. So these are a little bit technical and statistical methods. I just want to tell you, right? You can learn later, little by little. Okay, the chi-square test means you have 2 variables to be tested. One is gender, male, female. The other is managerial. Both sides are categorical. You know numbers. This is a qualitative research type. But all the 5 techniques explained before, you had one quantitative variable. Say salary, KPI, right? Or here, if you come here, salary, right? Salary before and after your marks. But when you come to the question number 6 or the test number 6, you have the what do you call that? Both sides are categorical, gender versus managerial level. So if you come to the number 7, this is a very, very important, right? So you are supposed to assess the impact of one or more variables on your dependent variable. This is a very, very important, up to the PhD level. For example, factors affecting the customer satisfaction of a private bank. Or else you can say that factors affecting the students of the private school. So whatever the impact of one or more variables on your dependent variable. This is a very, very important. Out of all these 7 techniques, so the 7 techniques, number 7 is the most important. This is coming under the multiple linear regression. For that, undergraduate level, you have to go for the multiple linear. Masters, of course, you can go, but the above masters, for example, PhD, doctoral, DBA, MPhil, you have to go for the SEM method, structural equation modeling techniques, such as SPS AMOS, Smart PLS, Starta, SASO, whatever. Remember, number 7 is a very important. Okay, so the number 8 means if you have again the categorical variables, the yes or no question, yes or no. Do you have the diabetics? Yes or no? So what are the factors affecting? So this is coming under the binary logistic regression, right? Binary. So remember the difference between the 7 and 8. 7, you are testing, you are having, your dependent variable is a continuous variable. For example, what are the factors affecting your salary? Salary is a measurable. Number 8, what are the factors affecting the diabetics? Diabetics is yes or no. You can't measure it. So that is coming under the binary logistic regression. Why I am telling you these things? Because when you develop your research question, or when you develop your research proposal, you should know your statistical technique. That is why I'm telling you, right? So the number 9 is a little bit technical. This is called what do you call that? Ordinal logistic. That means you have more than 2 variables in your right side. For example, you want to test the tax policy in Sri Lanka. Tax is your proposition is a tax is too high, right? So what do you think about that? Strongly agree, strongly disagree, slightly disagree, average, slightly agree, strongly agree. So you have 5 options. Ordinal. So if you have that kind of research question, you have to go for the ordinal logistic regression. So remember, so these are the techniques that you should know in general, but there are some other techniques as well. These are the widely used techniques. Up to 1 to 7, all these are you can do by using the SPS very simply, very easy. 8 and 9, yes, again SPS, but coming under the technique called logistic regression, right? Okay, so these are the some of the quantitative methods. Now, when you come to the qualitative research, I told you very clearly the facts. What? You have to answer the question what, how, why. For example, you are supposed to understand the behavior of the customers in a supermarket. So you have to go to the supermarket, you have to take some seats, and you have to observe their patterns. Why they buy this one, what they are going to buy first, and how they are going to select. So these are the questions that you have to ask. So this is coming under the qualitative research. And remember, so now it is, what is your research paradigm? Ontological stance is the relativism. Relativism means subjective reality. That means if you observe how the customer behave, you will get a one phenomena. If I observe, I will get another set of phenomena. So that is why it is called subjective reality, the relativism. If you can remember, under the quantitative, that is objective reality. That means you should get the same almost, and I should get the same. Here, no. Researcher depend on everything. I will get one thing, you will get another thing, right? So this is called this is coming under the qualitative methods. The ontological stance is the subjective reality or the relativism, and the epistemological stance is how you are going to test the reality. You are going as a detective. So you don't have the computers, you don't have the statistical techniques. You are going to the site, right, and getting information and collecting information, recording, taking some videos, taking some photos, and you're coming back to your office and you're analyzing all the facts by the textual analysis. This is called interpretivism. Okay, the research methodology is inductive. Inductive means from inductive means from, right, bottom up, because you are collecting the information and then you are observing the patterns, and then you make some hypothesis, the tentative, and then finally you confirm your theory. Say example, right, assuming that you see a stone, it is white. And you see another zone, it is also white. And you see another zone, or the third one, it is also white. Now you can say that all the zones are white. So this is called inductive reasoning from the observation. If you can remember, under the quantitative, this came under this way, right? This way. But in this method, you are going from the down. So these are a little bit technical, but you have to learn these things if you want to do your research systematically. And the science, this is very easy, but you have to learn, right? So the example I told you very clearly, this is based on your observation, right? You see your first zone, second, third. But remember, the millionth zone could be black, but you don't have any other option. So the Karl Popper, one of the great scholar in this area, he critically, he seriously criticized on this method. Karl Popper, if you check in the Google, but you don't have any other option. You have deductive and you have inductive. Deductive means, if you go to the previous slide, so this is the deductive, right? From top to bottom. And now you have inductive, it is bottom to top. Why this is called the tentative hypothesis and this is called the proposition? Tentative means you cannot scientifically test these things because you are not collecting the data. You are collecting only the facts, not the numbers. So these are called the proposition. If you check in the Google, so this is some form of hypothesis, but not direct hypothesis. That is why it is called tentative. Okay, now you hope you got the rough idea about the quantitative and the qualitative, right? Remember, please. Okay, so the research paradigm. So these are for the especially for the PhD students, master students. But you should know these things. What is the ontological stance? What is your epistemological stance? Okay, so these are a little bit technical. You have to go through these things. If you want to do your research, you have to check these things in detail. Okay, so let's go to our main area, the sampling methods. So now I already explained you some techniques about the quantitative method. Okay, what? The first one is the one sample t-test. That means you want to test your sample against the known value, say pH value, which is 7. So now you want to test the water samples, whether the pH value of your own water sample is significantly different from the 7 or not. That's number one. Number two, control group and the experimental group. You want to test whether there's a significant difference between the control group and the experimental group. Number two. Number three, you want to same thing. Here you have more than two groups. That means you have control group, experimental group, and other group. I don't know. I will explain you again at the latter part of the session, right? And number four, repeated sample. That means your knowledge before and after. In other words, those who are doing the HR, you know the KPI values, key performance indexes, before the HR program and after the HR program. If there is no significant difference between the before and after, you are not supposed to do this test. So that is number four. Number five is the correlation, is whether there is any significant relationship between the smoking and the cancers, right? So remember that one very clear. Number six, chi-square. Chi-square means both sides are categorical variable, whether there's any relationship between gender and the managerial level, right? Because now you know that male or female can be anyone in anywhere in the world. Even the lot of CEOs are now ladies. So no, there's any gender discrimination. Okay, so that's the research, right? Anybody, can ladies become senior managers? So this is the test, chi-square test. So the number 7 is the most important. The impact of one or more variables on your dependent variable. For example, the factors affecting the customer satisfaction of a private bank. I'm telling you very easy to understand examples, right? Like that. For that, you have to use the multiple linear regression. Very easy and very important, right? And number 8, I already told you, binary, logistic, yes and no. And then the number 9, again, I told you that is called ordinal logistic regression. So these are the quantitative methods. Now we come to the qualitative methods, right? So remember, number 1 is the ethnography. Ethnography means you have to go and live with the set of people. The professor Nandasen Ratnapal in Sri Lanka in maybe in 1970 to 80. So he himself begged in Colombo to get the information about the bigger community. So that is called ethnography. Ethnography. That means if you want to do some research on the prostitutes, or if you want to research on the, say, drug addicted, then you have to go and you have to live with them. So that is called ethnography. So normally your sampling method is a purposive sampling. Purposeful. Purposely you are selecting prostitutes, or purposely you are selecting the beggars, or purposely you are selecting the drug addicts. You can't select randomly. Remember that point. So remember, quantitative method means your sample techniques probability sampling. Probability, that means random sampling. Qualitative means your sampling technique is a non-probability sampling, that is purposive sampling. So remember that point very clearly. If you did not understand, please ask. So the second, ethnography means you have to live with them. As Professor Nandasen Ratnapala lived with the beggars, he himself begged in a Colombo before the Gulf race in some years ago. So do you believe that his colleagues have seen that he is begging, right? So that's because that's a participated observation. For example, if you want to do a research how about the buying behavior in a supermarket, you are going and you are also buying with them by observing. This is called participatory observation. You are getting their information while you are also buying. So then they don't know who you are. So they will buy naturally. You're also buying. They're also buying. So that is what is called ethnography. So phenomenological means lived experience. For example, you want to do an investigation about some person, some cricketer, some tuition master, some artist, right? So for that, you have to do the phenomenological analysis. So here the sample, again the purposive. I told you very clearly, whatever the qualitative method, your sampling is a purposive sampling or non-probable. That means you are targeting the group that you want to investigate straight away. Purposive, judgmental, right? So the number 3, case studies, as you know, everybody knows. Again, the purposeful sampling or the purposive sampling means if you want to study about the Keel's supermarket, then you have to take the Keels, not the Cargills, right? Like that, purposive stuff. The grounded theory is a very important. Grounded theory is a little bit difficult. That means if you want to develop new theories, right? For example, now you want to analyze some buying behavior in a supermarket. So you want to develop a new theory, new phenomena, right? For example, now you want to, after these economic crisis, you want to analyze about the voters' behavior. It's a very big research. Voters' behavior, voter turnover, right? So there you have to do a grounded theory. You have to live with them. You have to go with them, and you have to learn their patterns, routings, expressions, attitudes. So this is called grounded theory. It's very difficult. And there you should have at least 50, 60 sample, but for all other methods less than 20 under the qualitative. But the grounded theory you need somewhere around 50. Okay, so the grounded theory is very important. And the discourse analysis means normally if you want to do some analysis on the words, or so for example, now you know that in the Facebook, right? Now Facebook has some limitations, right? So new rules, new regulations came into the effect. So this is coming under the discourse analysis. Hate speeches or whatever, hate videos, assaulting, insulting. So this is coming under the discourse analysis, right? Again, remember, all these things are coming under the purposive sampling, which will be explained in the latter part, right? So these are the widely used qualitative methods, widely used, right? So what is the next one? Narrative analysis means narrations means you have some stories. For example, if you want to study about myself, so I have some stories from my livelihood times up to now. Stories, beautiful stories. So you are studying those beautiful stories and then you are doing the analysis. Again, the purpose of sampling. Right? And the thematic analysis is very important. So that thematic analysis means, again, if you want to analyze something, you are making some themes, right? For example, if you want to do I mean that research about the Facebook users, right? So you can view their Facebook yeah, their profiles, and you can get some information, daily information. So, and you finally you make them into themes, and then you analyze by themes. For example, what are the posts they share every day? What are the posts they share rarely? So then you can do some analysis. So this is what is coming under the thematic or the content. So remember, the content analysis is a different. Why? The content analysis means also qualitative, but you have quantitative as well. You are doing qualitatively, but you are analyzing quantitatively. So content analysis is a very important in that sense. Okay. That means you can, I mean that you code in all these methods. You code, for example, male, female. You code male as 0, female as 1. Then the computer will understand. So like that, you have to code all these things, but the coding is not that easy. Under the quantitative it is easy, but the qualitative it is very difficult. You should have a very good knowledge. Okay, right? The content analysis means it is something like the narratives. You have to make some contents based on your analysis, contents, topics, right? So finally, based on that content, then you are doing your analysis based on your contents. The first one, thematics, themes. The above one, the narrations, the stories, right? Almost same. You can't separate this out, right? Almost same. I can't say that these are mutually exclusive, but different techniques. The final one is not that important. Action oriented means sometimes from time to time you need some special researchers. For example, now you have to do the research about the economic crisis or the water behavior. Now those days you had to do the research on the corona. So like that, this is based on the current importance, right? So please remember, these are the widely used qualitative methods, widely used, right? I can't say that all the qualitative methods are available here, right? So remember that one. And I have to tell you very clearly, the most importantly, the sampling method is the purposive sampling or the non-probability sampling, which will be explained in the due course, right? Okay, right. So this is the qualitative strategies. I am not going to explain the same thing, right? You can say it. And what is the next one? The time horizon. I already explained you what is the time horizon. Time horizon means when you are doing your research, how do you collect your data? At a one time, maybe within 1 month, maybe within 2 months, but at a one point. So that is called cross-sectional or the snapshots. For example, doctors know much better. If you want to get a fasting blood sugar, FPS, that means you have 12 hours fasting, and in the morning you go and get it checked. That is called cross-section or the snapshot, right? So remember, basically the cross-sectional type data collections are for the quantitative research, but you may have qualitative as well, but basically this is for the quantitative, right? Remember that point very clearly. I can't say exactly this one, basically useful for the quantitative, right? But at the same time, so this one, but can be used the qualitative, the mix, according to the Saunders et al. I can share this book with you. This is very expensive book. I will share you if you want the soft copy. Okay, so the time horizon means how do you collect your data at one time, or annually, or monthly, or weekly, or hourly. So if you collect your data annually, weekly, monthly, then it is called longitudinal, right? So that means, for example, doctors know again HbA1c, your sugar test. You are getting a sugar test for the last 3 months, not for a snapshot. This is much better. Much better. Why? Because you are getting an average for the last 3 months. So normally someone can argue that the cross section, the longitudinal data is much better than cross section, but that depends on your research question. So you can't say that you want cross section, or you can't say that you want longitudinal. That depends on your research question. Okay, remember what is the question? Right now you understand about the, what do you call that, these uh, time horizon, longitudinal and the cross section. Cross section means you are collecting data at a one time, maybe within 1 month, within 2 months, but only for one time, for one person. The longitudinal means you are collecting data for over a period. For example, 2020 to 2024 annually, or monthly, or daily, right? That depends on your research question. Remember that point very clearly. You can't say that your data is like this, your data is like that. You can't say. That depends on your research question. Okay, the research onion, I am not going to explain this one. This means if you do the quantitative research, that your path is mentioned in the red color, right? If you do the quantitative research, your path is like this. Your ontological stance is the representationalism, right? And positivism, that is your epistemological stance. This is a little bit technical, right? But remember, whether you like or no, you need these things in your research. Okay, remember that point very clearly. So we are very closely, very soon we are coming to the sampling methods, right? So this is your ontological stance, right? Representationalism. Then this is your epistemological stance, positivism, that is scientific method, right? Then your type of strategy, mono method quantitative. What do you mean by mono method? Mono method means you are collecting data by using only one method. Maybe survey, maybe observations, maybe interviews, maybe focus groups, or whatever, only one method. So now this, what do you call that, this Saunders et al. Have recommended, if you are doing a research for the first time, go for the mono method. That means you collect data only for one method. Okay. So, and the red color, the cross section already explained you one time, then finally your final data collection methods and analysis. So this is for the quantitative type. When you do the qualitative research, this is how: relativism, interpretivism, induction. Can you remember induction? Induction is like this, bottom up. This is deduction. Can you remember? Deduction is top down. So these things are a little bit technical, so you have to learn, then you will understand. It's very easy. Okay, maybe you may be first time hearing these things, so but you have to learn, right? Okay, so now the quantitative research was the qualitative research. So I'm not going to compare these things one by one. You can compare all these things 10. Here you have 10 for the quantitative and 11 for the qualitative. I'll tell you the first one. The quantitative means your results are the objectives. Objective means the results should be same for you and me, for others, if you do the same research. Qualitative means no, it is a subjective. It's a researcher dependent. Number one. Number two is the same. Remember, you can't say that which method is better than the other. You can't generalize the qualitative research, but remember, the qualitative is not to generalize your findings, but to investigate in depth. Why? The Professor Nandasen Ratnapala investigated about the beggars. He did not want to generalize his findings. He just wanted to know how the beggars behaving in the Sri Lanka. That is his research, not to generalize. Generalize means you are doing some research and then you can say that, so this is my research. So based on my research, all the beggars are behaving like that. So that is called generalizing. So remember the difference between the quantitative and the qualitative. Quantitative means if you want to generalize. Qualitative means no, generalizing is not possible. That is to investigate in depth. Qualitative means in width, widely you are studying. Okay, so I am not going to explain all these things. Number 7 is important. Under the quantitative, I told you very clearly, sampling method is the probability sampling, which will be explained. Under the qualitative, sampling method is non-probable or the purposive sampling. That means you want to study about the beggars, so you are going to beggars. If you want to study about the prostitutes, so you are going to collect from them. If you want to study about the AIDS people, then you are going to study about the non-probability sampling. Okay, so the other thing is a very, very important question, number 9, 10, right? So the quantitative method, you can do the research while you are in your office. But when you are doing the qualitative research, you have to go to the site, right? You have to live with them sometimes. You have to see how they buy and what they buy and what they don't buy and why they buy, right? So you have to go to the natural settings. But the quantitative, no, you can stay in the office and you can get the information by WhatsApp messages, questionnaires. You can do the analysis by using the computers like a gentleman in the office. But qualitative, no, you have to go by yourself to the natural settings. Remember that point very clearly. And when you are doing the quantitative research, so you don't have to be very much technically sound. But if you are doing the qualitative, your data collector should be highly trained. Otherwise, she or he will not get the correct data. Okay, so remember that point very clearly. And also number 6, quantitative means once you develop your questionnaire, so you keep on collecting the data. See, SEM, please explain qualitative for PhD. Okay, right. C, not the C, SEM. SEM means structural equation modeling. Structural equation modeling, that is the advanced version of the multiple linear regression. SPS AMOS, Smart PLS, Strata, SAS over advanced method. So for the PhD levels, so you have to go for that level. SEM, Mr. Dayan, SEM. Good question, thank you. And number 6, quantitative linear means you develop your questionnaire, finalize your questionnaire, do a pilot survey, and distribute your sample units, and you finally you do the analysis. So that's it. But when you are doing the qualitative, so you are collecting data today and you are analyzing, and you are going again tomorrow, and you are changing your methods, and you are coming back to the office, you are changing again and again, and iterative process, not the linear process. Coming, going, coming, analyzing, going, coming, and iterative process, not the linear. But the quantitative is not that. You can't change it once you complete it. Finally, you doing the analysis at once, but here it is not. So remember that point also. Okay. And so number 6 here, you have to go for the natural settings. That means you have to live with the beggars. If you want to do a research about the girls in a spa, so you have to go as a customer. You have to go as a customer. Otherwise, how do you understand their attitudes, their behavior, their patterns? So you have to go there. For the natural setting, you have to go. Quantitative, no. If you want to do a quantitative research, you can just send your question by WhatsApp. Now, and Google form based, I will share with you how to make your questionnaire by using the Google form. I will share with you today after the session. Okay, so remember that very clearly. So these 10 and 11, please check, and I will let you know. I will explain you again if I get the time. Right. So these are that Mr. Gayan you asked. So from 1 to 7, 1 to 6, so very easy under the SPS, very easy. This is for the quantitative, so this side. So 1, I already explained, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So here I think 1 is missing. Yeah, no, here you have 2 together, no? This one and this one together, right? Multiple linear regression means up to the undergraduate level. Or the masters, you can. But when you come to the PhD level, DBA, MPhil, doctoral, then you have to go for the SEM. SEM means structural equation modeling. That means advanced version of the multiple linear regression. This is for the doctoral students. Okay, right. So number 7 and number 8, these are logistic regression, which I explained already. And if you come to the qualitative research strategies, ethnography means you have to live with the beggars. Phenomenological means you have to go to and study about the cricket players, right? Their lived experience, how they played for the last 10-15 years, right? So their lived experience, their experience. For the first one, you have to take your experience with them, with beggars, with spargers, with prostitutes, with the buyers in the markets. You have to get your lived experience. Number 3, case study. As you know, you want to do research about the supermarket or whatever, right? Okay, so please remember the grounded theories are very important. I told you very clearly, very important. That means if you want to develop a new phenomena, how the voters in Sri Lanka are behaving after these Aragale or whatever, how, why, right, what? So these are, you have to develop new theories. Grounded theory, sampling method is the purpose. You sampling, you have to go and meet the people who participated for the Aragale. You have to get the information from them, right? You can't get the information from the others who did not go there. So you have to get only from them. Participated observation. So discourse analysis, I told you, that is about the hate speeches, hate videos, or whatever. Narratives, about the narrations. You want to analyze about some stories. For example, yesterday I saw some, what do you call that, some music, chat and music, or whatever the program. So these big figures, these celebrities, always trying to say there are some stories, interesting stories, narratives. Content analysis means all the things are, you are categorizing under small content. I told you very clearly, 1 to 6 all are common, but 7, this is qualitative, but you may have the quantitative approach as well after the coding. Remember that point very clearly. So if you want to do this kind of research, please remember you have to master a little bit more. Right? For example, if you want to do ethnographical studies, so you have to master it. So if you want to do a phenomenological studies, you have to master it. I don't mean that you have to master all these things, but remember, whatever the topic you want to analyze should be mastered by yourself. Okay, so please remember these things very clearly. And first, select which technique you need, right? And through the literature, how do you know? So when you review your literature, just check their methodology, what statistical technique they used, or what qualitative method they used. Then you can apply the same. Otherwise, you can't say. You can't say as Priyanta Morapitia said. You can't say as your supervisor said. You have to check the literature and you have to understand how they have done, what statistical technique they have done. You don't want to read entire article for this one. Just read the abstract or just read the methodology. Within 10 minutes time, you will be able to understand what statistical technique they used or what qualitative strategy they used. So when you read 4 or 5 articles, then it takes only about say 10 into 5, 1 hour. You get all this information. No need to read the entire article. Just read the abstract first. If it is not there, then read the methodology part, only the first 2-3 sentences, then you will get all these things. And then you have to note down, oh, I understand, my research should be analyzed by this technique, like that. And that you should write in your research proposal. Right. Okay, let's go. Right. Now the today's topic. So I have another 15 slides to cover within 30 minutes time. I will do it very fast. and I will be slowly. I will be slow when and where required. Right. So introduction to the sampling. Sampling means what? As you know, so sampling means just a part of your entire population. Part of entire population. Probability sampling means what? Probability sampling means each and every element has non-zero and equal chance of being selected. What's that? That means each and every item has equal and non-zero chance of being selected. That means if you want to select someone and you have same chance is to select the number B boy as well, right? So each element has equal and non-zero chance. So what do you mean by non-probability? Non-probability means the other way. No, you don't have that kind of. You are selecting which one you want. I want this person. I want that person. I want this person. No randomness. No equal probability to select each and every. I am selecting myself for my research. So that is what is basically meant by the probability sampling and non-probability sampling, right? Remember, I told you for the quantitative, you have to go for the probability sampling. That means each and every unit should have an equal and non-zero chance of being selected in the sample. The second one means no, you don't have. So you are selecting whatever you want. I want to do a research about the what do you call that? About the drug addicted people. So I am collecting only from them, not from you, not from me, not the random. Okay, so that is non-probability sample. Okay, so the selection of the sample is again the selection of the subset of the entire population, right? So don't worry about that. Will be explained in the due course, right? The randomization is the key. What do you mean by randomization? Randomization means, so now I have here, you have 78 students. I randomly ask question from one person, randomly ask, right? So that is randomization. Okay, so I'm not selecting the end country from Korea or from New Zealand. Or I'm not selecting, right? I'm not selecting the district. I'm just asking without knowing anything. Randomization. The size of the sample is very, very important. So remember, how to select your sample size will be discussed later. And probability and for the quantitative, yes, you have. So very critical for you, but the qualitative, no. Basically, sample sizes are less than 50, normally less than 20, but only for the grounded theory, you should have about 50. Okay. So the larger the sample, much better, smaller the bias. That is for the quantitative. For the qualitative, no, that's not the case, right? Right. So this is the introduction to the sample. You can just understand about the entire population. That means entire country. That what do you mean by what is the difference between the target population and the entire population? This is a little bit technical. I just took this new book. But if you check this book, if you check this in the other book which I used for this workshop, Sekar and Buji's book, in that book, he has not mentioned like this. But in this new book, 2023, population, target population sample, that means he has categorized population is the biggest and the target is the next, sample is the smallest. Remember that point very clear. Okay, right. Now let me go to the next one. So anyway, the sample size, but if you check in the Google, you will not get the population, target population, both are almost same. Remember that point. But the sample and the target population is a totally different. Sample is a subset of the target population. Subset. Subset of the target population. Okay, remember that point very clearly. The target population is not the sample, is again the subset of the entire population, but that is not technically correct, right? So, but I just wanted to show you because this is the new I mean that newly described by the Saunders et al. In the 2023 book, last year, just 4 months ago, right? Okay, so now what you want to know is sample is a subset of the target population. That's what you should know. Why? Why you are doing sample? Now, if I ask, if I just unmute you guys, I am asking, why are you doing sample? Then I'm sure that you will tell first three reasons. What is the first three reasons? If you want to do the investigate about the entire population or the target population, it takes long time. That's that you can say like that. I'm sure you can, the other one you can say that, yes, how can do it takes we need a lot of money for that. Yes, that's also correct. You need a lot of money and you need a lot of time. But about third one, physically not difficult, physically difficult, right? Physically difficult, right? For example, now you want to get the information about some people. Sometimes they have gone abroad, they are sick, they're in the hospital, right? Sometimes they are in jail, right? Sometimes you want to go and get the information about some patients. So when you are reaching out the hospital, patients may have gone to the some other investigation or may have gone to the restrooms or the toilet, so you can't physically reach them. That's the number three. Physically you will not be able. Money is okay, first one is okay, time is also okay, but physically you are not possible to. If you check in the Google, you will get only these three. But remember, my dear professionals, last 4 and 5 are the most important. According to this Mason, Lind, and Watern 2017, this is a very new, right? I guarantee you check in the Google, you will not get this result. You will get the first three, but you are not getting the last two. Last 4 means destructive nature of some test. Destructive nature. What do you mean by destructive? Destructive means if you, for assuming that you have the money, right? Assume that you have the money, assuming that you have the time. Okay, assume that you can reach everybody. First three are okay. But when you collect data from everybody, you get lot of human errors. These are very critical. These are much serious, right? So therefore you are not supposed to go for the entire population. The sample is enough. Why? Otherwise you are getting a lot of human errors. That's number 4. Number 5 is a much important. What is that? What is that? Right? So please remember, if you check in the Google, you won't get this results. But I will share this book with you if anybody is interested in more. Number 5 means, so when you keep on collecting one point, you will get your data is saturated. After that, no meaning even if you collected the data. For example, quantitatively, if you try to collect the data after 384, you won't get any difference because you have come to the saturation point. If you qualitatively, when you collect the data, right, you keep on collecting data, say about up to 50. After 50, they will not give anything new. They will give you the same thing over and over again. Nothing new, no value addition. Why? This you have reached the saturation point. What's your good question? Okay, right. Definitely yes, I will. Right. Now, number 5, you understand? You have come to saturation point. So if you are doing the quantitative, after 384, you will not get any statistical difference. Any. Right. If you do the qualitative, I can't say any. Right. I can't say any. Remember, my dear sons and the daughters, when you do the natural science, you can say, yes, there is. But when you do the social science, you can't say. In the social science, there's no right and wrong answers. There is no, in general. But when you are doing the natural science or the mathematics, yes, answer should be there. Yes or no. 2 plus 2 is 4. 2 by 2 is 4. You can't say no. But when you do the qualitative research, you may have yes and no, or whatever, half yes, half no you have. But quantitative, no half yes, no half no. Okay. So remember that point. When you are collecting the qualitative data, after some point, you will not get nothing. I can't say you will not get nothing. You will get something, but repeatedly the same thing. So you will not get significantly new thing. So no reason to go more than that. So you have to identify that point, right? What is good question, sir? Can you give an example which we can differentiate? Right. Okay. I will. Yes, definitely. Yes. We are coming to that point. I'll tell you. Right. Okay. Now I told you very clearly. If you are doing the qualitative research, your sample size is basically less than 20. But if you are doing a grounded theory, that means you are going to develop a new theory. So there you need about 50. Okay. So that's okay. Now when you go, now remember these 5 points are very, very important. Can now process negatively affect on the, yes, that of course, yes. So that for that you have to collect your sample properly. For example, if you want to get the information from the nurses in the hospital, then you are getting the information from the attendants or from the doctors, then you will not get the expected results. For that you have to, that is why sampling is a very important. So you have to get the information from the correct sample, right? So that's a very good question. Right. Okay. So this is the unit of analysis, right? The unit of analysis means now you can see the entire population, right? Entire population, you can see red cars, black cars, blue cars, green cars, yellow cars. How many cars are there? 30 cars in the left side, 6 cars in the right side. So what is the key? Randomness. Randomness means if you just pick up, it may be black, may be red, may be yellow, may be green, or whatever. That is randomness. So what is the proportionate? It's very important. So this is for the quantitative research. Remember that point very clearly. Proportionate means you should be able to collect all the vehicles. For example, green, red, black, blue, all depending on the proportion. I'll explain you later. So you can see here, one black car is there, one yellow car is there, one green car is there, one red car is there, one blue car. The representation is perfect. Why? All colors of the cars available here is representing here. This is called representation. And the third one is the adequate sample size. That means, so assuming that you have the randomness, okay. And assuming that you have the representation, okay. But you don't have enough sample size because you want to collect 384. So then you fail. So remember, these are the 3 criteria when you're making the samples for your quantitative research, right? Quantitative research. Yes. If the confidence level increases, yes, then you have to go for the much high samples. Yeah, correct. Right? You are, yes, yeah. That is for the 95 level we are discussing now. Basically, if you are doing the marketing research, you are supposed to do the 95% level. But if you but the medical research, you have to go for the 99.9. In that case, it is a different. Okay, I'll explain you that point. That's a very good question. And the unit of analysis is the analyzing units. For example, in this case, car. So in other words, if you want to analyze about the say about the customer satisfaction of the private bank, so then you have to identify the private bank customers. So the private bank customers are called unit of analysis. Private bank customers are called unit analysis. For example, you want to do analyze about the private banks. In that case, private banks are the unit of analysis, right? So but the private banks can't speak, no. So in that case, you have to get the their representative, for example, managers or CEOs or whoever. Remember the unit of analysis. That means the units to be analyzed. Okay, so right now that's okay. What's the question? We have to be time. You say qualitative research size could be 20 and yeah, you are very correct. I'll explain you. So normally, according to this what do you call that? This Saunders et al. So this sample size is for the less than 20. Otherwise, you can't do it. For example, now you want to get the information, right? So if you so to get the information from one person, it takes about 3-4 hours. Sometimes maybe one day, qualitatively. So then how do you collect the data from 50 people? Then you need 50 days, right? So you can't do like that. Okay, so then you can't go in depth. Right? Quantitatively, so quantitative means you are not going to in-depth analysis. No, you are just sending questionnaire. They will fill it up, send it within 5 minutes time, or within 1 hour time, within 30 minutes. So you can have the maybe 200, 300, 400. So much better the sample size. That's good question. Right now, let's go to the next part. Right. So this is, I took it from this Saunders book, and the new book, very new. Probability sampling, I already told you, each and every item should have an equal and non-zero chance of being selected. හැම කෙනෙකුටම හැම කෙනෙකුටම අර sample එක ඇතුළට එන්න chance එක තියෙනවා. So that is called probability sampling. Non-probability sampling means no, you don't have. So you are selecting, you are picking up as you want. So that is called purposive sampling. Okay. So remember the difference between the probability sampling and the non-probability sampling. Probability sampling means basically for the quantitative research. Non-probability means exclusively for the qualitative research. So these are the methods that I won't explain you. I will explain you one by one later. Okay. So the sampling methods, probability and non-probability. Probability, under the probability you have these 4. Under the non-probability, you have these 5, and I am using 2 books, right? So the new book, that Saunders book, and the other book is the Sager and Bouge's book. So those 2 books will give you the 2 pictures. Oh, so this is for the sampling methods by Sager and Bouge, right? Anyway, almost same, right? Almost same. This is Sager and Bouge. Probability, non-probability. Probability means for the quantitative, non-probability means for the qualitative. So I will now explain one by one. All these things will be very explained very clearly, right? You don't have to worry about it. Please stay with us, right? The 75 is a very good number of students at the moment. So out of the 282 registered people, some people are not coming due to the time differences. New Zealand, Korea, very much advanced in time there. They are sleeping now. It's okay. So they will see the offline. And this is the probability sampling. I will be explaining 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the qualitative convenience sampling. This is called availability sampling. Availability, that means you want to get the information from the available units. So that is what is the convenience sampling. Purposive, I already told you. So what I want to tell you very clearly, this is for the qualitative and this is for the quantitative. Okay. So remember that point very clearly. This is purposive. This is not random. Random means, so you don't know which unit you are picking up. Purposive means you know which unit you are picking up. You know. Okay. So that's about that categorization. So let's go one by one. Right. So we have our interval within another 10 minutes time. Yes. Right. Let's go now. So the probability sample. Now, please remember that we are discussing all. Now remember which sampling method is applicable for your research. And I have to tell you one thing very clearly, right? Remember, you can never select 100% perfectly matching sampling method for your research. Why? You can't do it, right? Practically you can't, but you should be able to justify, sir, this is my sampling method. How did you take this one? How? You have to justify. So you can't justify, even myself can't. So then you have to go through the literature review and you have to check how the others have justified. In that way, you have to select your sampling methods, because no way of justifying your sampling method perfectly. Unless otherwise, you are collecting data from entire population, then it's okay. But then you know what will happen, then you will get other problems, right? Human errors, cost, time problems, physical problems. And you don't have 100% perfect matching sampling method for your research. So that, of course, you have to very clear about that, right? Okay. Right. Okay. Okay, Mr. Nalin, I know you are in New Zealand. Thank you very much for coming. Right. Okay. So I will be explaining now one by one. All these 10 will be explained. 6 probability sampling methods, 5 or 4 non-probability sampling. Okay. So the probability sampling methods, each and every unit has equal chance of being selected. So here you should know the sampling frame. Sampling frame means the entire set of data, entire set of data. How many data are there? How many people are there? How many members are there? How many cars are there? All entire. You should know it. That's much better, right? So the probability sampling method is exclusively for the quantitative research. So remember that point very clearly. Okay, right. So how to determine the sampling size? So this is the general equation. This is called coherent formula, right? This is called coherent formula. So you can later check these things. I have very clearly explained this one by one. This is your sampling size. This is your confidence level, 1.96. This is statistics, 95% level. But for the doctors, they should be 99. Then he or she will get another one. This is the maximum variable. That means if you have the big samples, 0.5 is the maximum. So the Q is 1 minus P, and then you will get. So if you substitute all these values, you will get a 384. So this is how you get this value. But I will tell you how the Saunders et al. Have mentioned all this value without calculation. But I have explained you how to calculate. Just check this one later, not now, right? Is this your confidence level? That means you're 90. Sometimes you can say, I want to do my research 95% confident level, 95%. Then you 1.96. But if it is 99%, then it is a different one, right? So this is it. P is the maximum because your population is very big. Your sample is very big. So that P is a 0.5. Then you will get very nicely this 384 value, right? You know this one. You know this one. Other things are automatically coming. This is the margin of error. Margin of error means, so when you are collecting your data, you are making some human errors. That should be either -5 or +5 in between, basically. So if you apply all these things, you should get this value, which is 384, right? So now you can now see very clearly, right? Go to this book. Right now you can see this is I took this one from the Saunders et al. Book. Now you can see after your population in the left side, your population, right? So somebody asked about the population and the sample size. This is it, and this is your, what do you call that? This is your confidence level. This is 95%. This is 97, 92, 90, 98, 99. So when it comes, when the confidence level is increased, then your sample size is increasing. That is correct. But normally for the marketeers, business people, so you have to take the 95% confidence level. This one, 95%. This 5% means 95. This is 97, 98. This is exclusively for the doctors, medical officers, right? So this is it very clearly. I told you, once the population is exceeding 100, your sample size is 383. I told you very clearly, once the population is 1 million, your sample size is 384. Once your population is at 10 million, still 384. Once it is the 1 billion, it is the same. So after 384, it won't change because you have come to the saturation point. Okay, saturation point. So remember, how did you calculate this 384? So here that great scholars, Saunders and et al. Have not mentioned how to calculate, right? But I have very clearly explained you how to calculate here. 384. So this is how this Saunders, Lewis, and Thornhill have calculated. So the first column is for the business people, right? The other one, so if you can see these things, you can see here the 99%. It's much better, right? Exclusively for the doctors, 99%. But this is for the marketing people, 95%, right? Now you can see when the sample population is 300, it is 383. When it is 1 million, 384. When it is 10 million, 380. What about when it is a 1 billion? It is still 384, right? Because it has come to the saturation point. Likewise, this is for the quantitative. Likewise, when you do the qualitative research, after some point, you are not getting anything new. So don't collect more and more data. So just talk to your supervisor. Okay, right. So that's it. Now we will be very soon. We will be having our interval, right? Now any questions, please? Right now, how to understand, how to do the what do you call now? These are very standard, right? So you don't want to go to this equation and trying to find out, but this is very standard. And there are some other links as well. I have here given the link to check the sample size, but this is very old, but this is a very new 2020. So you can quote this reference for your research, and you can say that I got from this book. That's enough. So no need to calculate, because if your target population, based on your target population, you can select out of these things. Don't go. But if you go for the more than, but at the same time, I have to tell you another thing, right? For example, in Sri Lanka, so if you give 100 questionnaire, you will get only 50% response rate. So if you want to get the 383 completed, then you have to distribute at least a 700 or 800. Otherwise, you won't get this much. So remember, even if you get a 400, it's okay. But the minimum 384. For the if the population is about 100,000, then it should be minimum 384, especially for the doctoral students, MPhil, PhD, DBA. Others, you can talk to your supervisor, right? But you should know why. Okay, right. So remember that point, that depends on your response rate. But you know that in non-probability sampling can be used for the non-probability sampling can be used for the quantitative studies. Is it non-probability sampling? Normally, Dr. Regal, that's a very good question. So there are some methods I will come to later point, mixed methods, right? So that means, for example, you want to get some information from the, say about some big companies in Sri Lanka. So now you have to go for you identify those big companies by yourself. So you are getting from the public list, public quoted company. And after that, out of them, you are selecting randomly, then it is okay. Otherwise, normally you need to go for the probability. You can have the mixed method, which will be explained later. That's a very good question. Right, now let's go this one. The non-probability sampling, qualitative, right? Qualitative means, I told you very clearly, less samples. Why? So your target is not to go wider and wider, but to go in depth investigate. So you need small samples. And remember, your objective is not to generalize, but to investigate. Professor Nandasen Ratnapala wanted to investigate about the bigger community. He didn't want to generalize about other beggars in anywhere in the Sri Lanka. He wanted to analyze the beggars in Colombo, not in the Nigambo, not in the Gampa, not in the Hambantota, not in the Jaffna. Generalizing means, so you are doing your research in Colombo, that should be appropriate for anywhere in the Sri Lanka. So that is what is called generalizing. So if you want to do a generalizing, then you have to do a quantitative research. If you want to investigate in depth, then you have to do the qualitative research. Okay, right. So remember that point very clearly, right? The sample size for the qualitative research, I already told you very clearly, it should be less than 20. But based on your research question, for example, if you want to do a case study, then it is 1. or 2? 1, no? So if you want to do a phenomenological study, so you want to do a research on the Aravinda de Silva, or Arjuna Ranatunga, Sanat Jayasuriya, the sample size is a 1. That depends on. But if you want to do ethnography, say you want to analyze about the buying behavior of the customers in this festival time, so you have to go and you have to purchase with them, participate in observation, and then better it should be about 50 for the ethnographical study. Living, so you have to live with them, you have to buy with them, participate in the observation. Then you need 50, otherwise you need maximum 20 according to the this Saunders and et al, right? So this Saunders and et al, this this one, the Saunders and et al, they say that if it is an ethnographical study, your sample size should be about 50. But if it is other than that, that better to have it less than 20. Okay, so that's it. Right now we'll be very close to the interval. Saturation, I told you, if you are doing the quantitative research, 384 is the saturation point basically. After that, nothing different statistically, right? But qualitatively you may have, but not significant. Why? That means ආයෙත් ඇහුවම ආයේ ඒකම තමයි කියන්නේ. තව කෙනකින් අහම අර කලින් එක්කනා කියලා ඉවරයි අර දෙයම. ඉතින් වැඩක් නැහැ තව කොච්චර ඇහුවත්. Right? For example, if you ask the same question from 50 people, they will give 50 answers. It's okay. But if you ask from the 51 people, then they will tell you the same people given by the 3 or 4 people. You will get the same answer. No meaning. So saturation is very difficult to understand saturation point, right? So that is not easy target. Right? So, but remember, so you have to be very careful about your sampling size and the sampling method, right? I told you very clearly, your professors know that it is very difficult to identify your sampling technique. So they are coming after you. How did you get the sampling method? How? Please justify. So that is a very difficult question. So for that, you have to review your literature very critically, how they have got their samples, what kind of sampling methods. By that's the way you have to justify, because there is no fast and hard rule to select your sampling method that should be appropriate for your research question. Then you should be able to justify it. Okay, so what's the question before the interval? Yeah, sampling frame. If you are unable to identify the sample frame, that is okay. The non-probability sampling is right. But if you want to do the probability sampling, then you should know the sampling frame physically. So the amount. But for the non-probability sampling, no, that's not a critical. That's not essential. Okay, that's good question. And now very clearly explain about the sampling size for the qualitative. That should be less than 20 for the other methods, but for the grounded theory and ethnography, better to have somewhere around 50. According to the with that Saunders et al. 2023. Okay. Right, now we will have to discuss about these things, the sampling one by one. So I think we will have to have our interval right now. So we will be meeting now. My time is 7:31. We will be meeting exactly after the 15 minutes time to discuss about the sampling methods in detail with examples, with real world examples. So please bear with, please join again after 7:47 Sri Lankan time, or 15 minutes after now, please. Thank you very much. Welcome back to the second session, right? Can someone please confirm that I am audible and you can wave this one, please? Right, okay, thank you very much. Okay, right. So now, so I already told you that we have probability sampling exclusively for the quantitative research and non-probability sampling for the qualitative research. And if it is a quantitative, then you should be very much concerned about the sample size, right? If it is if your population is a greater than 100,000, then your sample size should be about 384 for the doctoral students. Others, please talk to your supervisors, because that is not that strictly for them. But the doctoral, DBA, MPhil, PhD, you have to have more than 384. And I told you very clearly, in Sri Lankan context, the response rate is 50%. That means if you distribute 100, you will get only 50 completed. So if you want to get the 384, then at least you should distribute somewhere around 700 and 750. That depends on your audience, right? Remember that point very clearly, right? Okay, right. So in qualitative method, sampling size is not that important. Basically, it is less than 20, sometimes 1, maybe 2. But if it is a grounded theory or ethnography, it should be about the 50 according to the Saunders et al. 2023, right? And I told you very clearly, don't go for the more samples than I told you, then you will not get anything, the repeated, because you are reaching to the saturation point. But under the quantitative method, you know the saturation point is about 384. But the qualitative method, you don't know the saturation point. Okay, so therefore, please read some literature to understand the saturation point. You can't say exactly I should get from 15, I should get from 20. You can't say. Approximately, it should be less than 20 for the other methods other than the ethnography and the grounded theory. For that, you need a 50 or above, right? But the quantitative, I have already shared with you that table developed by the Saunders and et al. And I have given the formula also to get that values, right? Okay. Now the first method. So we have another 30 slides to be completed within another 1.5 hours. Okay, I will try my level best to do it, or maybe extra 15 minutes maximum, right? So this is the simple random simple random sampling means very simply you have the 6,000 people and you want to get the 100 people out of that 1,000. That is what is called simple random sampling. So here the randomness is the very key and very important, very easy and very guaranteed. Why? Because simply you can collect. But what is not guaranteed here is the representation is not guaranteed. Why? For example, assuming that you won't have 1,000 people and there are 600 male, 400 female. So you want to get the 100 out of them. Sometimes you will get the all 100 from the female or all 100 for the male. Why? Because you have more 600 male, 400 female. So the representation is not guaranteed, but the randomness is okay. So remember that point. Okay. So I'm not going to explain the example. This is a very important, very easy, less expensive, less time consuming you can do. But the problem is the representation not guaranteed at all, right? So how do you get this, do this one? So now you know that those days what you have to do is you put all the names in a box and you just you take them from as a raffle. But no, now you have the computer generated systems. If you give all the data to the computer and then just give a command to get I need 100, you have to write them, right? You have to ask in a systematic way. So there are softwares. So then the computer will automatically select 100 randomly. So that is called random sample generator by the computers. So you have it. So no need to write all these 1 to 1,000 and select one by one. No, computer will do it. So this is a very simple. And I told you, I explained you, the randomness is guaranteed, but the representation is not guaranteed at all. Kisi set wenne, right? Okay, so no, I'm not going to explain that again. I think you understand, right? So there are 1,000 elements. Out of this, you want 100, right? So you want 100 out of this 1000, right? What you have to do is you can have a random sample generated by the computer. Computer will give you the 100 out of these 1000. So what is guaranteed here? Randomness is guaranteed, right? But what is not guaranteed? The representation is not guaranteed. Okay, right? This is a very easy, but sometimes you will have to use this with the other methods combined, as Dr. Regal asked, right? Dr. Regel asked, right? Sometimes you have to combine this method with the other method. I will come to that point later, Dr. Regel. Okay, simple random is the best. Why? Randomness is there, but what is not there? Representation is not there. Okay, right. So this is the next one. Restricted or the systematic sampling. Again, the random sampling. What kind of sampling is this? Okay, for example, so you have how many? 12, right? 12. You have to draw 4 members out of 12. The sampling frame, I told you very clearly here, as I can't remember who asked, you should know the sampling frame to apply the probability sample. Here, the sampling frame is 12. Here, the sampling, dear professional, sometimes I might go at about 9:45, sorry, 9:15, nah? Okay, 9:50, maximum 9:15. Here, you know the sampling frame is 1000. Here, you know the sampling frame, it is 12. Out of this 12, you need to get 4 members. So what to do is just divide 12 by 4, then it is 3. Right? Now you get the 3. Okay. So very simple calculation is there. So this is your sampling frame and you need the 4 samples. Simply 12 divided by 4 is equal to 3. Right? Right now you have 12 sampling frame here. You can start anywhere as you want. I am starting in 2. My lucky number is 2. So this is my first one. And then what is your this value is 3. First, just add this 3 to 1. Then the next one is 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? So next one is this one. 5th item. Right? So now this is my first item. 1, 2, 3. So I have already this one. This is my first. I arbitrarily selected. Oh, I can take this one all if I want. So I took this one, right? And this is my first one. This is my second one, and add another 3 to here. 5, 6, 7. So this is my third one, and then I add another 3 to here. This is my 11. Or else you can take, if you check here, if you take the first, and then it should be like this, right? If I did not mistake, like this, right? Okay, right. So what is the comparison between this and that? Right? Can someone tell me? Right? So in the early method, you did not go along the sampling frame. මේ method එකේදී මුළු 1000ටම ගියේ නැහැ. Right? සමහරලාට මේ මුල 100ෙන් ගන්න පුළුවන්. අග 100ෙන් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මැදින් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. You did not go along the full sampling frame, but here you went fully sampling frame 1 to 12. Right? So that is the difference between this and that method. And here the randomness is okay, but the representation is not guaranteed. Why? Because you don't know what values you are collecting. Sometimes all you have collected blue people, or all you have collected green people. You don't know, right? So therefore, these two methods are very good for the randomness, but not good for the representation. So for that, you have to go for the stratified random sampling. Stratified random, this is the most important. Please, my dear professionals, almost you have to go for this kind of sampling method. Why? The randomness is there, the representation is there, but this is a little bit expensive and time consuming. But depending on your research question, You have to go for this one. So this is the most important and most reliable probability sampling method according to the Sekaran and Booji, right? So here, importantly, you should know the sampling frame, entire sampling frame, sampling size, right? You know the sampling frame, okay, and the sex, age, right? So what the technique is, you will have to divide your items under meaningful categories. Meaningful. Why I say meaningful? For example, you have 1,000 early example. 1,000 can be divided into the male, female, meaningful, and 1,000 can be divided into the Sinhalese, Tamils, Muslim, or 1,000 can be divided into the Buddhist, Catholic, Islam, Hindu, like that. Meaningful categories. That's the first way. Those are called stratas. Is it clear? Those are called, remember this one, right? But we are coming to the very similar one in the next slide. So here you have to divide entire population into the meaningful categories. Meaningful, right? If you want to do a national research in Sri Lanka, the best way is male, female, right? Or you can say you can categorize under the age categories, right? You can categorize under the ethnicity or religious base or whatever, entire Sri Lanka, right? So this is called stratified sampling. Then what do you mean by stratified random sampling? So this is what is very important. This is what is very, very important. Okay, the stratified random sampling means, so once you divide it into your stratas, then you are drawing your elements based on the representation or the proportions. So thereby you are guaranteeing the randomness and the proportion or the representation. I'll explain you by example, right? So here, this is a very important, according to the Sekaran and Booji, in the same strata, same qualities thing. So you are having the two stratas, male and female. So within the male group, almost the characteristics of the male are same, almost. And within the female, almost are same. So what if you have the male and female in the same stratas, then it is different. That is next case. But in this case, in one group or one strata, you have the same quality, that is called homogeneity. So this is good. So that is why I told you this is the most reliable probability sampling technique out of all what we discussed today, right? According to the Sekaran and Booji. We have another 1 hour. I will take only maximum 15 minutes, right? Okay, so now we go to the stratified random sampling, right? So you have this one. So you can see I have divided into the red people and blue people. Red people and blue people. So I take 2 from the red and 3 from the blue, depending on the proportion or the representation. Now it is guaranteed. Why? So why the randomness? How do you guarantee? Because I randomly select. I have 5 red people. I take 2 people. Any 2 people. Randomness is there. Then what about the representation? It is guaranteed. Why? You have separately red people here and blue people there. So now you know the randomness is guaranteed and the representation is also guaranteed, right? Okay, I'll now come to example, good example, right? Okay, so this is a big example. I will do it within 5 minutes time, right? This is a very, very important one, right? Okay, now please remember this example was taken from the Sekaran and Booji's book, right? I will share this book also. Right, so now here you have a 710 employees of a particular company. 710, right? Top management 10, middle management 30, low level 50, supervisors 100, like that. So now you need 142. Your sample size is 142. You need that. That is given to you. So you need that one. Anyway, you have calculated that you want 142, whatever. So how do you select this one? Right? How do you? Now you know all these things, right? This is your sampling frame, sorry, population, You know it. And the breakdown, yes, you know all these things, you know, and you know this your sample size, right? You know this one. So now you know, but you don't know these things. So this is very simple. Out of 710, you have 10 top management. Then what should be the one for 142? This is acharata mecharana mecharata kochara 2. Like that, this one for 710, you have 30. 30, and for 142, how much? It should be 6 if you calculated. Likewise, you can calculate all these things. Is it clear? Is it clear, please? Right? Now this is called proportionate sampling. Why? You took everything according to the real proportion. So this is your proportion. No, this is your proportion. So this is based on the proportion. Right? Okay. So now what is the disadvantage of this method? What? Can someone tell me, please? Right? Okay. I'm not asking due to the time problems. Otherwise, I also want your feedback. You can see this one. So here this is only 4. Here you have 100. Here you have 6. Very small. These two, and this is very big. For that, you are changing as you want, as you like, as you wish. I am telling them no. I need more for this one. So I take this as 10. Right now, if you take the 10, so that now you have to take it because this is fixed. You can't change this one, right? That is, so now what you have to do is you have to reduce from this one. So I take not 100, only 60, right? So likewise, you will rearrange this one as you want. This is called disproportionate sampling. This is called proportionate sampling. Both methods are same, right? These two are same, right? So this is called disproportionate. Why? Proportionates are not there, right? But you change it. It was there. You change as you want. Why? Because here you have 100. Here you have only 4. So you are not getting much information about this 4. So I want this as 10. So I reduce this one down to 60 and I increase other things like this. So this is called this. So this is a very, very important. Please remember that one, my dear sons and the daughters. This is what you have to select. Okay. This is what. Why? The proportion, the representation is there, randomness is there, sampling size is there. All 3 criteria are available here. Okay. Now let's go to the next one. Any questions, please? Anyone, please? Right. So this is another sampling method, single stage cluster sampling. So can you remember now we are discussing, right? Now we are, if you go here, right? If you go here, right? If you go, I am discussing this table, this graph. So the same thing. This is from the Sekharan and Booji. This is from the Saunders et al. Almost same. Almost same, right? So now I am going to discuss this one. Much easy to explain. So now we already explained number 1, number 2, number 3, number 9, number 4, 5, 6. Likewise, we have to explain all this within next 1 hour time, right? Okay, so we have to go fast. No. You don't have, but only thing is the representation should be there. Why? Because you have only 4 for the secretariats, no? So that's not good. So you make it 10. That's as you want. No criteria. But up to this, right? Up to this, right? You should have the criteria. So you should have the criteria up to this one. But this is the guaranteed one. But better to go for the disproportionate if you have extremes like 2 and 400. Otherwise, you don't want. For example, if you have here 10, right? If it is 15, then you don't want to go for the disproportionate. Then it is okay. That's a very good question, right? Cluster sampling means almost same. Now, entire Sri Lanka should be divided into the clusters, right? Not the categories. Earlier, male, female. In that category, you have the Jaffna male and Hambantota male, Jaffna female and Madakalapua female. That is under the category. But here, no. You should divide into the meaningful boundaries geographically. In Sri Lanka, we have 25 administrative districts, Jaffna, like that, Colombo, Galle, Kandy, like that, 25. So within that 25, these are called the clusters. Remember, those are called stratas, these are called clusters. Within the clusters, you may have male, female, both. You may have Catholic, Buddhist, Hindu, Islam within the cluster. But in that good sampling method, you don't have. You have the stratas. So remember that point. So this is easy, less expensive, but very unreliable out of all these methods. Okay, not when we did the sampling earlier, second time, we divided the sampling from 12, so we got the 3 as the whole number. If we get the... No, that is actually, Mr. Arunjo, this is a good question. So you don't know, this is not a hard and fast rule. So you can take 10 as a 3 or as a 4. You should understand the technique. That means you should go along the entire line to 1 to 14. So that's why because I first selected 2 to 11, no? Then I went 1 to 10. That's okay. No. Everything, the point that you have to understand, you should cover the entire frame. Okay, I hope now you understand. That's a very good question. So this single stage cluster sampling means you are dividing entire population into the meaningful clusters, meaning geographically. Okay, right. So now, so here you have the cluster. Now you can see, now this is very unreliable. Why? Within the one cluster, you have red people and blue people. So this cluster, you have only blue people. This cluster, you have red and blue. Like that. This is not like this one. This is not like this one. This is the much better. And this is not that better. But still, you have to use this one. Okay, remember that one. So this is, remember the difference between the what do you call that, cluster sampling and the stratified sampling. Okay, right. Now out of these clusters, you have to select randomly. Right here you have 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Draw all the items for each and select a cluster from a new sample. Right. So randomly you select 1 or 2. 1 or 2. This one I select, this one and this randomly. Now you see, Dr. Rachel, you have the cluster sampling and then random sampling. Right? You select 2 randomly, right? And after that again, you can select randomly within these 2. So remember, here you apply cluster sampling and random sampling. Okay. So remember that point very clearly. That finally you draw a new sample, right? You are taking from the second sample 2 or 3, right? For this sample, I don't mean 2 or 3. So any number as you want, but in that case you can use the random sample generator, right? Because now you already divided into the clusters, right? Remember that point very clear. But here, what is the disadvantage? Here within the clusters you have heterogeneity. That means people having a different attitudes. You can see red people, blue people. Here only blue people. Here red and blue. But earlier case, you have red or blue. No, you did not have both in one group. So that is why that method is good. Okay, so this is the cluster sampling. If you take a population, we have to apply cluster sampling as the population is not always homogeneous. Yeah, that depends on your research question. right? Because I told you very clearly. So you can't say my sampling method. You have to justify it, because sometimes due to the, because this is a very easy and this is a less expensive. The stratified is the best if you are paid, right? But it takes a lot of time. You need a lot of money, but that's best. Okay, right. Now you know the cluster sampling single. So this is the single type. So now you have the multiple multi-stage. Multi-stage means, in simple way, I'm not going to take my time here, right? So you have, I mean that you divide it three times, right? For example, if you want to do a national research in India, right? First you have to select the entire country, urban, semi-urban, rural, like that. And then you, second stage, you select some particular areas of these sections, some, right? For example, from the urban, you take 2 districts, semi-urban, you take 3 randomly, rural, you take 3. That is the second stage, but still big. Still big. Now what you have to do is, now you have to take as a third stage. Now you have to take from those stages. For example, I'll explain you again the example. When we consider geological situation, don't we have to take the cluster? Yeah, cluster sample normally. So you better try for the, what do you call that, stratified sampling, right? If you cannot go to the stratified sample, then you can go to the cluster sample. But remember, when you review the literature, check how the other person have done. Then you have to justify that. That is how you are doing. You can't say Priyantha Morapitiya said. You can't say. So you just check in the literature, because sampling is a very important, right? Sampling, data collection, data analyzing method. You can't say that me apita Priyantha Morapitiya කියලා කෙනෙක් කිව්වා. You can't say like that. You have to justify through the critical literature review how the other have got their samples, how the other have collected their data, how the others have them analyzed their data. So you have to get all these from previous articles and you have to justify them. Okay, that's a good question. No, I can't say, and nobody, I can just give you the guidelines, right? Because I told you very clearly, there's a no hard and fast rule how to take your samples. Okay, but remember, these are the standard methods, right? The third stage, I told you very clearly. In other words, multi-stage cluster sampling involves probability sampling of the primary. Yes, right? Because primarily you are having the probability sampling, because you, once you divide it into all these things, and then you select probably randomly, right? From each primary units, probability sampling of the secondary sampling units, then drawn third level. That means you have categorized under 3. And finally, you get from the third one. For example, if you want to national research in Sri Lanka, first divide Sri Lanka into the 25 districts, right? And then you select 3-5 districts randomly, 3 or 5 randomly, second stage, right? And then still big. And then you divide into the, say, secretariats. Right? From that is third stage. From that you get the your samples from a new one. So that is called multi-stage cluster sampling. When you have the bigger and bigger geographical areas, you have to go for the multi-stage cluster sampling. Again, I am telling you, please check how the others have done, and you have to justify accordingly. Let's go, right? After selecting the cluster, then you can go for, no, you can't go like that. No, because within the cluster, madam, within the cluster you have everything. No, within the cluster you have Tamil, Muslim, Sinhala, Hindu, Malay, everyone is there. But the stratified sample means you are dividing into the stratas, all island. That means within one strata, you have the Sinhalese from Jaffna to Hambantota. Sinhalese are there, right? Tamils from the another strata, Tamils. That is from Jaffna to Hambantota. Within the second strata, you have the Tamil people of Jaffna and the Tamil people of Hambantota. But within one strata, you don't have Tamil and Sinhalese. So that is what is called strata. Strata. Cluster sample means no. So you divide the entire Sri Lanka into the clusters. So within the Jaffna district, you have the Sinhala people, Tamil people, Muslim people, Hindu people, Malay people, everybody is there. Okay. So remember the difference between the two methods. Is it okay, madam? Dr. Rachel, it is okay? So remember the cluster, I told you very clearly, stratified sampling means you have to divide it to the meaningful. For example, male, female, entire Sri Lanka. Then you have only two stratas, male and female. Religion, so main religions, Buddhist, Islam, Catholic, Hindu, isn't it? Only four stratas. Only four, right? And if you divide into the cluster, you have 25 districts. Or you have 9 provinces, like that. Okay, so remember that point very clearly. So that's why I'm telling you. So if you want to do your research under any one of these samples, you have to read little more than I am explaining here, right? Right? Double sampling. Double sampling means it's very straightforward because you collect your samples one time. But finally when you come to your office, you see that samples are not enough. So you have to go and you have to get from the same people again. Same people again, that double, twice, the same people, right? So the final one say here the respondents might be interviewed again to get the additional information. Why? Because first you collected data that is not enough. So this is basically for the qualitative research. Right? Okay. Why? Because in the qualitative research, you are doing today, tomorrow, day after tomorrow, iterative process. But the quantitative, no, it's a linear process. Now you can ask. So this is a probability sampling. How do you do for the quality? That's a very good question. But sometimes you may have mixed methods. Okay. So double sampling is very straightforward. Now we come to the non-probability sampling. Okay. So now before I move forward, I have to tell you non-probability samplings exclusively for the qualitative research. Exclusively for the qualitative research. That means you are not concerning about the sample size. You're not concerning about the randomness. You're not concerning about the representation. You're not concerning about the what else, right? Those 3 criteria. So this is for the qualitative methods where you want the real investigation, in-depth investigation. So what is the first one? Haphazard. Haphazard sampling means, right, convenient sampling. Yes, you can combine. Yeah, definitely you can combine. But a very good question again. So I'll explain you that one once again. So it's there at the final slide, right? So the haphazard sampling means, for example, as the name implies, convenience. So this is called availability sampling. If I tell you frankly, this definition was not there in that my previous book. That is there in my new book. In my new book, I found the name availability, but in my early book, that name is not there, right? Anyway, this is convenience. That means the sample will be selected based on your own convenience, right? Readily available or the conveniently available. Readily available, convenient. For example, I want to do a research about the buying behavior of the for example, buying behavior of the customers of a Cargill. So I have Cargill supermarket very close to my home. I am going there and collecting data from that Cargills. So that I cannot generalize for the Cargills in the Colombo, Cargills in the Gold. No, I can say in the Kandana Cargills the behavior is this. Right? Then based on that, Kandana Cargill's management will take the decision based on that. But approximately they can think the same in the other Cargills as it, but not the real way. Remember, the qualitative means you are supposed to do a particular situation. the you are investigating, not the generalization. Okay, right. The non-probability sampling, under the non-probability sampling, haphazard sampling means convenience or the availability. So for example, so I want to investigate about the railway passengers. So I have very big station near, that is Ragama station. I go there, busy time, and I can get the maybe more than 100,000 people at the only the Ragama station. But remember the qualities, attitudes, characteristics of the Colombo people, Jaffna people, Kandy people will be different. So my objective is not to investigate the characteristics about the railway passengers in Colombo area in the Ragama. So this is available sampling. Okay, because the samples are clearly, conveniently available at the Ragama. I am going Ragama. Okay. So the next one, purposive sampling again. So this is a very, very important one. Very important. Then, Madam Dr. Regal, now I come to your question, right? Judgmental sampling, right? Again, I have to tell you, this is for the qualitative, right? So remember, so අපි මෙතනට ආවයි කියන්නම qualitative වල තමයි එන්නේ, right? මම ලියලා නැති වුණාට remember that point. So the purposive sampling means purposefully you are selecting, purposefully or purposely or purposefully, right? In some books it says purposive, in some book it says purposeful, like that, right? ඒකයි මම මේ වචන දෙකම දාලා තියෙන්නේ. Judgmental sampling means you judgment that you need the information only from this group. For example, so you want to do a research about the lady leaders, right? So now you have to get the information only from the lady leaders. So now you judge that she's a lady leader, she's a lady leader, she's a not leader, she's a leader, she's a like for you judge yourself. Sometimes your judge may be wrong, but you don't have any other option. So this is called judgmental sampling. You decide, you can get information only from these people. So that is called judgmental sampling. Okay, remember that point very clearly. Quarter sampling I will come back to later. Snowball sampling, it's very easy, very interesting. And the theoretical sampling, this is a non-probability sampling. So when you do the grounded theory, I told you the sampling size should be about 50. So there you have the theoretical sampling. Again, non-probability, purposive sampling procedure, particularly associated with the grounded theory, which focus on the needs of the emergent theory. Right? So that is no purposive sampling. Okay. So now when you go to the, now the key is here. So you have to get the information only from these people. So I want to do a research about the lady doctors at the night times in the hospital. So I have to get the information only from the lady doctors working at night time, not the daytime, not the nurses, not the others. So that is my target group. Purposively, I judge. Right? I judge. Doctors run judge කරන්න පුළුවන් ඉතින් බලුවම පේනවනේ. But leaders it's not easy. Sometimes I might say she's a lady, but some you might say she's a not leader. That's a quality. That's the beauty of the qualitative research. Okay. Right. So next one, criterion sampling. Criterion sampling means when you're doing the phenomenological sampling, that means you want to investigate about the Aravinda de Silva's cricket career. So what are the lessons that you can get from Aravinda to new generation? So you have to do a phenomenological study about the Aravinda de Silva. So therefore, when you go to investigate Aravinda's cricketing career, so you have some predetermined set of questions or something like that. Okay, so that kind of sampling is called criterion sampling. That is exclusively for the phenomenological method. Remember that point. So if you are doing a phenomenological research, then you have to read more and more about the criterion sampling. Okay, because as you know, we have limited time. Otherwise, I can tell you. So the judgmental sampling, I told you already very clearly. That means you judge, she's a lady leader, and she's a lady leader, and she's a lady leader. So I want to get information only from these people, not from the non-leaders. Okay, so this is it very clearly I have given here. right? So the information should be able to be obtained from the selected people as you want, as you judge. Judgmental sampling, right? So now yesterday, one doctoral student asked from me, right? So now he wants to do a research about the high performance organizations in Sri Lanka. Now, how do you select that this organization performs high? How? So you can't say, but anyway you have to judge it. So how do you judge it? So you can get their tax reports. So sometimes their companies are public listed companies. Sometimes they have some their own associations. Or anyway there should be a one proper method of justifying. And then it is a in judgment sampling, Dr. Regal. And then you can collect data randomly, right? Because you now selected that these 280 companies are public listed companies, that is a big companies. So now you want to do analyze on the employees of these big company. Now you can get the random sampling, that is called mixed sampling. First is the judgmental, second is the random sampling. I am telling you again, here you can apply as you want, but you have to justify. So you can't generalize these things for other companies. You can generalize these things only that particular companies. I told you very clearly, if I did a research on the passengers getting down and getting in from the Ragama station, so then that research will be restricted for the Ragama people, not for the Colombo people, right? So these are the qualitative research. You cannot generalize. So my objective is to investigate about the characteristics of the people getting down and getting in from the Ragama station, not from the Colombo. Okay, so judgmental sampling, and then the same thing, which is the same things I have explained more and more in the easy way so that you can understand. So researcher, you have to decide whether she is a lady leader or not. You. So this is you, right, researcher. Here are the ladies. So now you are selecting. This is a lady. She is a lady. She is a lady. She's a lady. Leader. You select this one, and you select another one. Who is that one? She's a lady leader, and she's here. And now two, and this one, not the lady leader. Anyway, whatever, right? Judgmental sample. Now this one, yeah, this one, right? Okay, he's also there. Now you are judging. They are the leaders, not the lady leaders, huh? Not the lady leaders. This is just to this one and this one are not compatible, huh? Remember that point because this is not lady, huh? Right? This one you selected this one. Where is he? This one? Yes, this one. Likewise, you decide. These are the people that you want, not others. So this is called judgmental sampling. Okay, this is called judgmental sampling. So this is my example. Lady leaders, no, woman managers, right? So you want to analyze about the woman managers. Now you have to identify the woman managers first. Line managers are there, sub managers are there, senior managers are there, super senior managers are there. So you have to get your sample, okay? Because the information is only available only with them. So for example, if you want to do research about the very big lady managers, then you have to get the information from them, not the line managers, not the middle managers. You have to get from the super senior managers like CEO level, big ladies. So you decide them, but you can't say she's a very beautiful one, right? She gets a very big salary. No, not that way. So there are some other standard criteria how to judge she as a big one, because then you can check her profile or whatever. Anyway, there should be a justifiable criteria to select she is a lady leader like that. So this is coming under the judgmental sampling, again qualitative non-probability sampling. Okay, is it clear, please? Right? Anyone not clear? Right? So this is once again, what is that one? Same one. Quarter sampling. Right. So now this is a very important once again. Okay. Quarter sampling. Quarter sampling means, so this is very similar to stratified sampling. Right. Very similar. Quarter sampling means, again, you can see, right? You can see that, see, quarter can be gender, age, social class. That means you are categorizing into some stratas or the categories: gender, age, social class, executive, non-executive, like that. And then you draw from them. For example, right, just for the time being, just forget about this one. Let's go to the example, right? In a company, so you have a 60% blue color, 40% white color, right? But you don't know the sample size, sample frame, you don't know, population, you don't know, but you know. But can you remember, if you want to do a stratified sampling, then you should know the sample frame. You should, but here you don't want. So this is almost similar to stratified sampling, but there are some difference. I will now come back to that one. For 60% blue color, 40% white color. Now you want to get a 30 people. Sample size is 30 people. Now you want to get, so how do you get this 30? You take this 30, out of this 30, you want 60% blue color. Why? Representation is there, right? Why? Blue color people are more, 60, then you did 18. How did this 12 came? 12 come, 30, out of 30, you want 40% white color, then altogether how much? 30, right? So now you know how did you get this 30 based on this percentage. This is almost similar to stratified sampling. There also we did the same thing. Can you remember that proportionate? But here the difference is, here you are not using the random sampling. This one, you are using the convenience sampling, right? This 30, you are not taking the this 18. You need 18, no, right? You are not taking randomly, you are taking conveniently as you want. This 12, you are not going for the random sampling like stratified. So you are collecting as you want, as per your own convenience. So this is the difference between the quarter sampling and the random sample and the stratified random sampling. Is it clear? Is it clear? The difference between the quarter sampling and the stratified random sampling. Both methods are based on the stratas, right? Meaningful stratas, male and female. But here the samples are taken conveniently. They are random. That is why it is called random, stratified random sampling. So if you don't know the population percent of the strata, we can, no, you can't do like that. So you can't do, then it is a very, then you have to go for another method, madam, Dr. Jamini, then you have to go for another method, right? So if you want to go for the stratified random sampling, you should know the population, you should know the sampling frame. Otherwise, how can you? This is the prerequisite for the stratified random sampling. Then you, otherwise you can't go, because you can't. That's why I told you very clearly, the sampling method is very critical, because your supervisors, your professors know that you are lying here, right? So therefore, when you review the literature, you have to understand what sampling methods they have used. Accordingly, you have to justify, right? Okay, we have another only 30 minutes time to cover. I think I can manage. That's a good question, but unfortunately you can't. Or the volunteer sample, this is a very easy, right? Snowball sampling is a very easy. I think I have the, yes. Snowball sampling means, what do you mean by snowball? So if you play in a snow field, right? So the just drop a tennis ball from the top of the your mountain. When it comes to the down and down, it will bigger. It becomes bigger and bigger. That means the tennis ball becomes a bigger than football due to the snow effect. Snow effect. So that's the technique. That's why it is called snowball. You are just throwing a tennis ball from the top of the mountain. When it comes to the maybe about 10,000 or no, 1,000 or 25,000 or 15, so 1,000 or 1,500 feet, right? It becomes a bigger and bigger due to the snow effect. For example, like that, you want to do a research on the prostitutes, right? The prostitutes are not available in the streets, right? You can say that, why not, sir? They are. No, that's not the way. Right? So what you have to do is, anyway, you have to identify one person. Now you are going there, you are reaching there, and now you can ask, I want to do a research about you guys, you people. The government has decided to give you some schemes or benefits for you. Then she will tell you more. Otherwise, she will think that you are coming from the police, and she will get caught, and she will not give any information. Right? Why? Like then she will tell you, madam, I know only one person. That girl is there. This is the telephone number. Just get info. Now you go there, and that girl will give you another two or three, and like that you are expanding, expand. This is called snowball effect. First you have only one, then you may have two, then may you have six, and finally you get a lot of. So this is where the sampling units are publicly not available. That means, for example, HIV patients. So you don't have the HIV patients in the streets or even in the hospital, but the specialist doctors know. So you have to approach a doctor and tell your objective, then the doctor will help you. So I am not telling you to do this research. I'm just telling you how to get the sample. Okay. Right. What is the self-selection sample? Self-selection sample means, for example, now you want to do a research about the quality of your canteen foods. Quality of your canteen foods. Now, right now, nobody is coming to give you the information. If you go and ask from the canteen people, then the canteen people will tell you that our foods are very good. Right? So then in that case, you are just publicly calling from the people who are getting the foods from that particular canteen. Maybe lecturers, maybe students, maybe clerks, maybe clerical, maybe senior, maybe cleaners. They will voluntarily come and give you the information. So that is what is called self-selection sampling method. So these are again for the qualitative research. Snowball sampling is not the voluntary, but the self-selection is the voluntary type, right? Because they will come. Now, yes, I am also taking foods from this canteen every day. I can give you the information. What do you want, sir? And then some lecturers will come, students will come, right? Some cleaners will come, right? Some laborers will come voluntarily, self. The first one is no. You have to ask from someone, then that particular girl or boy will tell another people, and likewise you have to go to get the snowball effect. Okay, that should be very clear. Right now, these are the advantages and the disadvantages. I am not going to explain you. Can you remember the simple random sampling? What is the advantage? High generalizability. Why? The randomness is there. What is the disadvantage? Representation is not there. Representation is not there. Why? Sometimes you might get everybody male or everybody female or otherwise. Not the representation is there, but guaranteed randomnesses. And main thing is very easy to administer, and easy and very less costly. So that is the advantage. Systematic sampling is the second one. Again, a random sampling. What is the disadvantage? Again, the representation is not guaranteed, but the randomness is there. Why? Because you are supposed to go along the entire sampling frame. Entire sampling frame. The first two, now you understand. The first two, the disadvantage is, which has not been written here, the disadvantage is very biased due to the randomness, sorry, due to the representation is not guaranteed. Okay, so now that should be very clear. What is the question, madam? I will have to think about the time as well. Stratified, yes, Mr. Geet. Only for the quantitative. Qualitative, no. Qualitative, you have to go for the purposive sampling in general, right? So remember, in the social science, I can't say strictly 100%. No, I can't say like that, right? So remember very clearly in general. So this is for the quantitative type. Okay, right. So let's go. So the stratified random sampling, now you know entire country should be divided into the meaningful stratas, meaningful, male, female, Sinhala, Tamil, Muslim, others, Buddhist, Catholic, Islam, Hindu, like the meaningful entire country, right? So this is the stratified sampling is the best, most reliable. Why? The randomness is there and the representation is the why, because you are dividing into the stratas and then taking randomly, right? So everything is perfect. What is not perfect? Time and cost. Okay, time and cost. And remember, if you want to apply this method, this stratified random sampling, you should know the sampling frame for the entire population. Otherwise, you can't apply this method, as someone very clearly asked. So if you want to apply the stratified sampling method, you should know the sampling frame. Otherwise, you can't. Okay, so remember that one. This is the most efficient method. So now when you come to the cluster sampling, that is the I will take this question later, madam, because I have to cover this one. Right, a good question once again. I have another 20 slides to cover within 30 minutes time. I think there's 30 minutes time, or not the 30 minutes. So the cluster sampling, I told you, entire country should be divided into clusters, right? So this is the most unreliable method out of all these things according to the Sekran and Boji. Okay, let's go to the next one. The mixed method sampling, that means I told you very clearly, first you have to go for the judgmental sampling, right? Because you have the data only with these people, right? Only with this way. So now finally, out of these, you are collecting data randomly. So the judgmental sampling plus random sampling is there. Judgmental sampling plus random sampling is there. Okay, so that is called mixed method. So anyway, I am telling you very clearly, sampling is a very critical, and your professors, doctors know that you are lying, right? Because not lying, you can't find it. So therefore, you have to read the literature about who has, how the previous researcher has done this one. What is the sampling method that he or she used, and based on that you should be able to justify. Okay, right. So the probability sampling, non-probability sampling, I am not going to explain. Convenience sampling or the availability sampling, very easy, very convenient. No, you can't generalize. And remember, don't ask it again. Non-probability sampling or the qualitative sampling is not to generalize. The කවුරු හරි මේකෙන් generalize කරන්න පුළුවන් දෙන්න තියෙන උත්තරේ මොකද නා generalize කරන්න නෙමෙයි මේ sampling method එකේ තියෙන්නේ special investigation එකට. කෙලින්ම ඒකයි උත්තරේ. Right? Generalize කරන්න නම් you have to go for the quantitative research, right? Make a generalize කරන්න පුළුවන් ඒකට විතරක්. For example, I told you that I want to get information about the people getting in and getting down for the Ragama station. Then I can generalize only for the Ragama station, Ragama area people, not for the Colombo area, right? So if you want to do a research about the entire people, then you have to get the sample from the Colombo, Ragama, Jaffna, Kandy, then you can generalize, right? So remember the difference between, right, due to the time. Yes, you can do, but that depends on, right? That depends on, madam. Right, quota sampling, I told you very clearly what is the difference between the quota sampling and the stratified sampling. Stratified sampling, there you have there you collect data from the randomly, there you from the conveniently, but the proportion is percentage wise. That's okay, right? So now let's go to the next one. choosing the right correct statistical tool. This is a very, very important. Now I already explained you how to get your sample based on your research question. Basically, right? Basically, I don't mean that I told you everything, right? But I very clearly told you the basic sampling methods according to these two books, right? So this book, it's a very expensive book, the very latest one, and this is also, I can share you the soft copies of this book as well. I use both books, right, to make all these lectures, right? So all the sampling methods which are available in these two books were included here, right? Okay, now choosing the correct statistical tool. This is a very, very important, right? If you're doing the quantitative research, you have to learn these things whether you like or not, right? So the descriptive statistics means the based on your sample, you are describing things. For example, my sample size is 384. So male are this much, female are this much, married are this much, unmarried are this much, doctors are this much, graduates are this much, undergraduates are. So there's a descriptive analysis describing based on your sample. Inferential means based on your sample, you are going to infer about to the entire population, predict, forecast from sample to population. So remember the difference between the descriptive statistics and the inferential statistics. This will be coming under our next workshop. If you like, you can join. It's a 5 days long workshop, very comprehensive, right? Remember, you have to learn these things. Now I am telling you, you can learn by yourself. No need to go for the workshops. You can learn by yourself by watching the Google videos or whatever, right? So I told you very clearly, PhD level, you have to go for the SPS AMOS smart pill, that is called SEM, right? Others, you can use t-test, correlation, multiple, linear regression, whatever I already explained you in the first session, right? So I have to come this one. Non-parametric test means if you don't have the normal, this is a little bit technical, but I have to tell you, my daughters and sons, right? Because when you collect your data, you will not get your data normalized under the normally distribute. Then you have to talk to your supervisor, and then you will have to go for the non-parametric test. So these are not coming under this session, but I wanted to tell you that is how you have to select your statistical test. If your data is not normally distributed, you can't apply the SPS, AMOS, or multiple linear regression. Then you have to go for the smart PLS or SAS or STATA or whatever, right? So that is coming under the big workshops. So this is called inferential. Inferential means based on your sample, you are going to predict about the entire population in Sri Lanka. Based on your sample, you are collecting only 384, and based on your 384, you are going to predict about the 2.2 million in Sri Lanka, not the entire population. I mean the population, right? research, for example, if you want to do a research about the private bank customers in Sri Lanka, so now you are collecting information from the private bank customers in Sri Lanka, 384. So assuming that you have the data in Sri Lanka, private banks, assume that we have 10 private banks, and we have 150 customers, private bank customers. So now you collect only for 384. Now based on that 384, you can predict about that 150 customers characteristics. That is what is called inferential statistic technique. Okay. Okay, so this is how you will have to draw the descriptive analysis. This will be a little bit technical, so no time to explain. Those who have already known about the SPS, you should be able to do this one. So I'm not going to explain this one, right? So please understand. So this is SPS, right? Sure, definitely, yes. I have already shared with you in the email. Please check in the email and I will let you know. Okay. So this is so measurement scale again. So please remember, my dear daughters and sons, So now you know what the techniques that you want to learn, that you want to adapt. So you have to learn by yourself, by going to the workshop, or by looking at the YouTube. You must learn these things. So then you know what is the statistical technique that you want to apply. I already explained you, and I will explain again in the last 10 minutes, right? So this is how you have to put your data into space. Very easy, very easy. Those who have already gone through this SPS, you should know. Others, please understand. Okay, so you should know, because if you want to do the quantitative research, whether you like or not, in general, you should know the SPS in general. Otherwise, you have to go for the SAS or Stata or Python, or much difficult methods like R programming, R studio. But the best, not the best, easy is SPS. Okay, just think about that. Right now, these are the final things that I want to tell you. I already explained you one sample t-test. That means you want to test your sample against the standard pH value. That is one sample t-test. Right, one sample. That means you want to test your exam marks about the, for example, assuming that you want to test your exam mathematics average marks of your own school with the national average marks of the entire Sri Lanka, whether it is significantly different or not. So then you can say that our school is a very good. It is almost close to the national average. Oh, it's a very much below. Our school is not good. For this is a very big research. One sample is please learn. Two sample means you have the two groups called experimental and control. If you have two groups, then it is independent sample. If you have more than two groups, then it is one way ANOVA. If you have the paired sample, means your knowledge before today's webinar and your knowledge after the webinar, the same people will be tested before and after. Then it is coming under the paired sample. දැන් ඔයගොල්ලන් පොඩ්ඩක් හිතලා බලන්න ඔයගොල්ලන් කරන රිසර්ච් එක මේ තුනෙන් කොයි එකට දෙන්නේ කියලා. ANOVA. Chi-square test, I already explained you. That means gender versus managerial level. That means gender-based discrimination. The ladies can become senior managers. If you want to do research in that way, so that is chi-square test. Correlation means smoking causes cancers. I am giving you small examples. Huh? Right? Small level. Anyway, technique is the same. The causation means you have to investigate about the impact of one or more variables on your research interest. For example, what are the factors affecting the heart attack? What are the factors? What are the key factors? Very big research. That is coming under the multiple linear regression, SPS AMOS, smart PLS, strata, SAS, or whatever. So you have to learn these things by yourself. Okay. So the how to choose the right statistical test, you have to check the normality. So remember, first thing is everything depends on your research question. Everything depends on your research question, right? For example, first you have to select whether it is a quantitative or qualitative. Depends on your research question. Depends on your type of data. Depends on your time horizon, right? So, and if it is a quantitative, you have to say, if it is quantitative, you have to check whether the data is normally distributed or not. So, normally distributed, please understand, right? Check it, right? If it is not normally distributed, then you will have to go for the SPS. You can't go for the parametric test, then you have to go for the non-parametric test. Right? So remember that point very clearly, right? So are the samples are independent or related? Related means same person tested twice. Then what is the method? Paired sample t-test. Independent sample test means control group and the experimental group. So how many groups? ANOVA. You have more groups. Now I will come to that part very simply. But these are the research questions for each and every major techniques. Do you want to test whether two groups from each other? Right. Okay. So this is one sample t-test. That means you want to test whether your sample significant different from the national mean, the pH value. Right. So this is one sample t-test. Smoking habits between the male and female. That means this is something like experimental and the control group, two groups. Then this is independent sample t-test. Sometimes it is called student t-test. That is it. Any difference before and after? I told you very clearly. Paired sample or repeated sample. So the students' blood sugar level before what do you call that? Before insulin and after insulin. Same people, same setup. It's a very big research. You don't have any other ways. So the ANOVA is a very important. ANOVA means you have more than two groups. If you have two groups, then you have to go this one, independent sample t-test, two groups. See, male and female. If you have more than two groups, more than three groups, you have to go for the one-way ANOVA. Okay, I will give you an example within another 2-3 minutes time. This is a very important, right? So the association means the multiple linear regression. That means cause and effect, the factors affecting the satisfaction of the bank customers, satisfaction of the students in the private schools, satisfaction of the hotel customers. These are the simple, but there are a lot. Impact of one or more where this is the most important one is this bullet. So there you have to go for the multiple linear regression up to the master's level. Above masters, you have to go for the structural equation modeling methods like SPS AMOS, Smart PLS and above. Okay, so the last one, the correlation means, is there any relationship between the smoking and the cancers? Is there any relationship between the doing exercises and the diabetics? Is there any? Is there any relationship between height and weight? Is there any? So you have to go for the association test or the correlation, right? So this is again, I told you very clearly. So to apply these techniques, you have to test whether the normality is there or not. Otherwise, you have to go for the non-parametric test, right? So these are again the same thing. And these are the examples. You can see very clearly, I have given you the practical example, real world example. Just go through this and check what kind of research you have. So based on this, for example, this is one sample t-test, right? I am not going to explain here. That means in simple, I told you very clearly, you have 435 college students. So now you want to test their mean height, whether significant different from the national height. So the national height is given at 66.5. So if you are doing that kind of research, you have to go for the one sample t-test. For example, that pH value case, the same thing, right? So now you just think about what kind of research you are going to do or you want to do. So based on that, you have to select your research question and the statistical technique. So the second one, two sample or the control group, right? Control and the experimental. That means, as I told you know about that. No, for example, I think I have given an example here. So you the principal, the class teacher wants to do a research about the students' performance by parents monitored by the parents and unmonitored by. ඕගලන් නම් කෙලින්ම කියයි ඉතින් ඕක කියන්න දෙයක්ද සර් මේ දෙමව්පිය බලන අය ලකුණු හොඳයි කියලා. එහෙම කියන්න බෑ රිසර්ච් වල. You have to prove it. What are the two groups? Students monitored by the parents, students unmonitored by the parents. Now you want to check the final marks of both groups, whether there is any relationship that is coming under the two sample t-test called student t-test or called independent sample t-test, right? So now you please check what kind of research you have to do or what kind of research you want to do, right? Based on these, right? So remember, all these things are available in the literature. For example, now if you want to do a research, First, you have to read some close articles, related articles. Within that articles, you have all these things, right? So the next one, this is a paired sample. Now you can see the marks. So no, this is the monthly income. This is the another example. The government has conducted a rural development project, right? I have only 10 minutes. So the before the rural development program, so these are the family income. So this is after. So they want to test whether there is any significant difference. Otherwise, they will not do this kind of programs. Again, spending public money. Public money ලංකාවේ ඕන තරම් වියදම් කරනවා. ඒක වෙනම කතාවක්. ඔන්න රිසර්ච් එක. ඉතින් මේකෙන් බලනවා මේකේ වැදගත්ද නැද්ද? වැදගත් නැත්නම් ආයෙ කරන්නේ නැත. ප්‍රයිවට් ඒවා නම් කරන්නේ නැහැ වැදගත් නැත්නම් ගවර්න්මන්ට් එකෙන් කරා ඉතින් වෙනම කතාවක් නේ. So this is ANOVA. ANOVA means here you can see in Sri Lanka you have 4 provinces, right? So the government wants to know the crime occurring in these 4 provinces, whether there are any significant difference between the provinces. Very big research, very big research. If you have 2 groups here, you can go for the independent sample, the control and experimental method. But here you have 4 groups. You have to go for the ANOVA. Okay, so remember that one. So if you want to compare, for example, another practical example, if you want to compare the mathematics knowledge about the three classes: Sinhala medium, English medium, Tamil medium. There are 3 groups. You have to go for the ANOVA. Remember. Now check what is your statistical method. Okay, so this is a very important. Correlation means check whether there's any relationship between the weight and the height, right? You know that there's a relationship. That is what is called BMI index. There is a relationship. So how do you prove it? So you have to collect the weight and the height of the people and you have to do the research. This is called correlation analysis. Okay, so you want to compare, you want to investigate whether there is a relationship between the smoking and the cancers, right? Smoking and the cancers. You are testing only relationship. You are not testing the impact. You are not testing the how far it affects. If you want to test the impact or the size, then you have to go for the linear regression. ඒක තේරුණා නේද? සිගරට් බීම නිසා කැන්සර් ඇති වෙනවද කියලා රිසර්ච් එක කරන්න ඕන නම් මේකෙන් පුළුවන්. හැබැයි සිගරට් බීම නිසා කොයිතරම් දුරට කැන්සර් හැදෙනවද කියලා බැලුවොත් මේකෙන් කරන්න බෑ. For that you have to go for the regression, linear regression. Okay, so remember that point. This is chi-square. Chi-square means any gender-based discrimination for the ladies to come up to the senior levels. Gender versus senior level, management level. Gender male, female, management level, low, medium, high. Now this is a big research. Any lady can come up to the big levels. So this is a big research. For that you have to use for the only the chi-square test. Okay, so this is it. I have given the example as well. And so this is the T distribution table. So I'm not going to explain this one. This is coming under this PS, right? So this is coming under this PS, which will be, you have to learn all this, but I have to tell you one thing very clearly, right? Can you remember I told you after 384 that you have come up to the saturation level. So this is your 95%. So this is your 95%, eh? 95%, this one, see this one, 95%. Now you can see after 100, so they here somewhere on 384, somewhere here, it is somewhere here, 1.96, right? It is not there, but after that it is almost same. And when you come to the here and here, it is 1.96. Can you remember this one? I showed you very clearly that Saunders table, how to find out the sample size. This is the reflection of that, because you have come to the saturation point. Statistically, after 384, you are not going to any different. Above this one, above 100, you are having different values. You can see different values, right? But after 384, you are getting same. Even if you have, this is your population, based on your population, right? So after even billion or 2 billion, 3 billion, after 384, you won't get any difference statistically. Right? Why? Because you have come to the saturation point. But when you do the qualitative sampling, you can't identify when and where the saturation point is there. Okay, so now we are very close to end up the session. I think I have no. Yes, chi-square test is only for the categorical variables. Is paired sample, do we compare the same group, the two groups, and the one received, one with another? In paired sample, do we compare the same group or two groups, so one received, one benefit to other? So, madam, you have to understand very clearly, paired sample means, I do not mean that the before and after, but remember, the same sample should be tested twice. For example, your own, we have here 55 students here, the same 55 students, their knowledge about the sampling before my workshop today and after my workshop, same 50. That's a one method. The other method, the same 55 people, their knowledge about the sampling people and their knowledge about the analysis people, the same people. So that's another method. So remember, that is also paired sample, but two different contexts. The first one, their knowledge before and after, and the second one, not before and after, their knowledge about the statistics and their knowledge about the sampling. Same people. The key is the same people. Okay, right? So now let's come to the almost come to the last level, right? So any other, please? So I'm not going to recap because I have already explained many times. Due to the time problem, there are some people joining from the overseas as well. So if you do, you have any questions, please? Okay, now we have to finish this one, right? So now I think you have our WhatsApp number. So please, if you have any other questions, you can join and you can ask, because now the time is already passed. So thank you very much for joining this workshop. And as you know, the time, we had some problems with the time issues. We have some problems with the time issues, and therefore I was unable to explain each and everything. But I hope that you got some knowledge about the sampling methods and how to select the right statistical technique for your question. So just read this one, and then you have to learn what is appropriate for you. Okay, so that's all about the today's session, and we hope that you enjoyed and you learn a lot, maybe anyway, but you will have to go through more and more, right? Then only you can I don't mean that you have to read each and everything, but especially what are the things, what are the statistical technique you want, what is the sampling method which is appropriate for you, what is the research question that you have to learn exclusively on that. So for example, if you're doing for the qualitative, so I have already explained about 6-7 methods. So no need to master all these 6-7 methods, but you have to master the method that is appropriate for you. And I explained more about the quantitative methods. You have to master the most appropriate quantitative method for you. Okay, so that's all about the today's session. Okay, thank you very much for joining us, for trusting us, and I hope that you learned something. Okay, thank you very much and good night.